on my way. I saw he was someone that I could trust, but I must have been asking just a little too much. Before I could even leave my room, I was the talk of the town by the afternoon. Everyone checking on the glory and added their own a little twist to the story. And by the time I got a back from me, it had grown a much bigger than I could say. My lady came knocking at my door. Then she said to me she didn't walk in her mouth. I didn't know what to say or do. Somebody took a line and made it come true. Why do we spread such devastation, hurting each other all across the nation? If we're all the same, why do people play games? We live our lives in days, running in and out. Games. Who's playing games? Everybody takes a turn. Who's playing games? When will we ever learn? Who's playing games? I wanna be a star. Who's playing games? Who's playing? Now it's gone time to recover. I had to go find me another lover.
You tuned in to the Iceman Show. I'm your faithful host, the Iceman. What's crack-a-lackin'? Let's get into this, y'all. I wanted to do a video on this whole VA situation. I wanted to take a break from my research with the Super Duper White Guy 3 Tales of an Internet Hole video that I am putting together for the paid subscribers. And I wanted to do some justice on this whole VA situation. I promised my fellow disabled vets that I would do something, and I just wanted to put my whole spin on the whole VA situation. The VA is a multi-billion-dollar agency, federal agency. How the VA came to be was after the World War I veterans came back. They were injured, they had issues, they had PTSD, but it wasn't called that back then. They had serious medical concerns and mental health issues. And they camped out in front of the White House until the president at that time got a bill through Congress to start giving war veterans benefits. And that's how the Veterans Administration came to be. Well, Veterans Affairs. Their budget is well over $100 billion. If you add up all of their medical, mental health, and other benefit programs like the VA Guarantee Loan Program, as well as other programs, they are a huge agency. But there are certain operations that takes a lot of the money. Now, you have to understand something. The VA is separated into two parts: the Veterans Health Administration and the Veterans Benefit Administration. The VHA, the Health Administration, handles all medical and mental health operations. All the clinics and medical centers and vet centers fall under the jurisdiction of the VHA, within or under the umbrella of Department of Veterans Affairs. The VBA, which is the Veterans Benefits Administration, is the claims side of the house, the VA Guarantee Loan Program, and other ancillary administrative programs that are not connected with the medical operations side. So they have very different functions. The VBA is one of their main functions is the claims processing for disability compensation and pension claims. Just to educate you all, disability compensation is a benefit, living benefit, that is paid to men and women, veterans, who have sustained an illness, injury, Purple Heart, which is being shot or stabbed, or sustained a bomb injuries from shrapnel, but it also includes some other things, some other types of injuries that are considered combat related, or illnesses that may have been pre-existing but were exacerbated by military service. Disability compensation, if applied for during service, usually starts 90 days after the veteran separates from the military, although some people, depending on how lucky they are, may begin to get benefits right the next month after they separate from the military. The disability pension program is a separate program that a lot of people don't know exists. And what the pension program is, it is a program that pays equal the amount of what the person's service connection rating is, whether it's 20%, 30%, I think it's 30, it has to be 30 and above, 40, 50%, or even 100%, or even 200%. Yes, you can get over 100% disability compensation because it's based on the number of injuries and illnesses you have. If you got somebody that has sleep apnea, which is 50%, and somebody that has PTSD, if they're found to have severe PTSD that is really debilitating, where they are barely leaving the home, they are totally isolated from people around them, that individual is considered to be severely handicapped or disabled by PTSD. Therefore, they're going to be 50%. They're going to get the max. So that person is 100% disabled through the VA. Now remember, that's through the VA, and that's probably about $2,700 a month. Now you can be 120%, even 160% if you have more injuries. Now if that person has sleep apnea, PTSD, and they have lost a limb, say they lost one leg and they lost an arm and a hand, well, that's about 150. That's about 200% right there. So somebody like that will probably be getting 6,000 or 7,000 a month, but they're going to need it. Okay, they're going to need that money. Plus, they don't pay anything for medical care associated with their service connections. Now, if you get 100%, you automatically get a DOD ID card, the same card that retired or medically retired service members get, and you receive BX and PX plus commissary, military-based commissary privileges. And that's on any military installation around the world. So there's a serious benefit to being 100% disabled through the VA. And that's not easy to get, I assure you. But it isn't uncommon for a veteran to be 130, 140, 150%. Okay, especially Agent Orange guy. I think if you're found to have Agent Orange, I think that's an automatic 50 right there. And if you have got certain types of diabetes or leukemia, certain types of non-Hodgkin lymphomas from that are secondary illnesses that you have contracted from Agent Orange, that's 150, 200%. You're going to get service connection for all that stuff. Type 2 diabetes or non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, that's like 50% right there. Okay? So we're talking about some serious money. We're talking about a lot of money over time. We're talking about, somebody at age 30 that starts benefits, and if this person lives, if based on actuarial science, this person lives to their 80, that's $4 or $5 million in benefits, plus the medical. Well, that's not including the medical. So obviously it's in the best interest of the VA to try to deny as many claims as possible. This is a basic outline of how the VA works. Now, VA pension is different. VA pension, again, I know I went off base here, off topic here, but let me get back on track. VA pension is a little different. If the veteran is 65 years old and they are not able to financially care for themselves with what they're getting from the VA, they can apply for what's called VA disability pension. And I believe, and I could be wrong, but I stand corrected. If the veteran gets the pension, it is based on what it takes to live, or is based on the VA compensation that the veteran is receiving at the time. Basically what it is different money, same purpose. The pension is different. in that you don't have the same benefits. I think if they take the pension, they may or may not lose their military base privileges. But I'm not sure about that. You got to understand something. The VA gives this little thin ass fucking book that's probably about 100 pages, less than 100 pages. And this book does discuss a lot of the basis and what goes on as far as the what programs they pay. Well, I mean, what military conflicts they pay for, and all of that kind of stuff. All of that is in that book, but a lot of the legal stuff, especially what they base how they pay or how they pay our individual claims, we don't get access to that. A lot of the legal stuff that the VA applies to our situations, unlike a lot of situations, we just don't get access to that information. A lot of people assume we do, but we really don't. Anyway, what the VA does is they pay this pension out if you're 65 or if the person is living below the poverty line and they need and their employability is 100%. Now, there's a lot of ways to get paid through the VA, and I don't know all of them. I'm not even going to front. But I will tell you this. Not everybody understands exactly how it's set up. Now, what's called employability is a separate 0 to 100% rating. This is how guys end up with the $6,000 and $7,000 a month disability compensations. And if you are deemed that you cannot work, you get what's called a 0 to 100% employability rating. That is in and of itself separate money. So that's how people end up with, 200% compensation. But you have to understand, somebody that's over 100%, they got a lot of shit wrong with them. That person probably was a paratrooper and they broke their ankle a couple of times jumping out of helicopters and planes and shit. Navy SEALs, a lot of them have a lot of those kinds of ratings because of the injuries they sustained. Like that dude, Soul Survivor, the dude that Mark Wahlberg did the movie on him that's out right now with the Navy SEAL. That guy broke his back. I mean, he got a whole bunch of injuries. So that guy's probably 150%. Okay? Which is why he's sitting real good right now. In addition to what he made off his book and intellectual property rights of the movie, because it was based on his book. Anyway, when those guys get broken up like that, the VA has to pay a lot of money. And even though this guy has a quality of life now, he's probably still in a lot of pain. I know some Navy SEALs, and I can tell you, there was an old Vietnam Navy SEAL that lived around the corner from me. He got broke up something horrible. And this guy's in his 70s. He's almost 70 years old, and he's got leg braces, back braces, but that dude gets out every day and walks miles. Okay? Mexican dude. Okay? You could tell he's a tough son of a bitch. Okay? He don't say much either. But tough son of a bitch, man. So that guy's probably 200% because he never told me how he got injured, but he said he was in the hospital for a long time. Okay? And he's still recovering from his injuries from 40, 50 years ago. He almost died. That's how bad his injuries were. Okay? Where he broke almost every bone in his body. I think he got hurt on a jump that broke his ass up. Okay? Because them Navy SEALs, they be jumping from like 20 and 30,000 feet. Okay? And then if he had to lay there for a while and the guys had to go get him, just think about, how he must have suffered. So an injury like he probably sustained, he's probably 200%. Because I guarantee there's a long laundry list of injuries and other ancillary medical situations that he's affected by, not including the fact that he probably has PTSD and other mental health issues. But that's the VA disability pension. And again, those of you who are vets and you're interested in the VA pension, it's an either or situation. You either have to be 65 and over or you have to be deemed unemployable and you have to have some financial issues where you're living below the poverty line. That's how that works. But the benefits, I'm not clear on it because the book doesn't talk a whole lot about about the pension. It doesn't talk that much about it on there. Okay? And the VA just they don't give you a book that has all their bylaws and laws in it. So we're kind of screwed. Anyway, these are the benefits afforded to veterans if they run into situations where they acquire an illness, become injured, or they receive a Purple Heart. And you don't have to be a combat vet to get disability compensation. I know men and women who were in really bad car accidents stateside and end up getting 80% because they almost broke their necks in a car accident on base or in an Air Force or Army or Marine or Navy vehicle. So you don't have to be a combat vet like me. What is going on with the VA is atrocious and it is sad. It's sad. It really is. And unfortunately, the people who suffer are the veterans and their families. And it's just, those of you who are not familiar with the VA, it has been common knowledge amongst old veterans like myself that the VA plays little games with treatment as well as the claims benefits or the application thereof. And basically what the VA has been doing, and they obviously, as a matter of fact, the Atlanta VA has been accused of it. What they do is a lot of times medical personnel within the medical system and the clinic systems will delay treatment, especially costly treatment, to save the VA money. And so what they do is if you have a Vietnam era veteran, and a Vietnam era veteran is probably going to be, his age is probably going to range from early 60s to 70, maybe even 80. And what they do is they look, if you apply actuarial science, which is a statistical methodology that you apply using, it's like risk management. And they use it in the insurance industry all the time. And basically what they do is they factor the person's age, health, and some other factors, mitigating factors. And they come up with an equation that gives them an idea when this person may die. So basically what you're trying to ascertain is what the insurance agency may have to pay in a policy and benefits. That's how they do that. And so what they end up doing is putting these people on lists where they can figure out when this person may die. So if this person is waiting for a heart transplant, or they're waiting for some type of open heart surgery, or whatever the case may be, you have to understand, you really have to understand how much this is going to cost. A transplant can cost $500,000. Okay? And that's on the low end. $500,000. Awful lot of money, people. So obviously the VA isn't going to want to spend that kind of money. So they'll come up with all kinds of excuses to try to get out of paying that money for that treatment. So if you got a guy who's in the high risk group, where he is a smoker, he's 62, 63 years old, he's been exposed to Agent Orange, and he's already barely getting around based on his medical examinations. Well, it's pretty much highly likely that this guy can kill over at any time. So this also factors into the VA claim side, where if you have a Vietnam era or World War II era veteran who's still languishing in this life, and I mean, this guy is 70, 80, 90 years old, and he's still trying to get a claim. you can pretty much figure that this guy's going to croak. This guy's going to kick the bucket. He's going to kick the bucket. So why don't we hold back on paying? Let's hold back on paying this guy. You don't just settle a claim with an 87-year-old man or woman. So they're going to come up with every excuse in the book to go beyond that 125-day settlement deadline. Every VA claim that is either an appeal, that is an appeal, has to be settled by 125 days. Now, guess what? There's no penalty for them to miss that deadline. Yet, if they go over it, all they do is just send you a letter talking about, we are aware that your claim has gone beyond 125 days and that we are still working on your claim. But there's no penalty. You don't get extra money because of it. You just keep getting stroked and you just keep getting stroked. But these are the games that they play. Because you have to understand something. If you have to look at how VA claims, how many veterans give up. A lot of times what veterans do is they wait till they start having health or mental health issues after they get out or they retire, and then when their body starts breaking down on them when they get in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, or 60s and 70s, what they do is they say, wait a minute here, this stuff, I got injured when I was in the Army. Wait a minute, I need to file a claim. And then that starts the claim process. And they file a VA form 21-526. Or now you can do a fast track application online at ebenefits.va.gov or .dod.gov. And that starts the process. So obviously, if this man or woman is a poor record keeper, because they ask you for all your medical records and service records that deal with your health situation. If you don't have that, they are going to deny your claim. Then what you do is you apply for an appeal. Guess what? Based on the statistics that I found, 60 to 70% of veterans who are denied the first time for a claim usually do not appeal. That's very important. Keep that in mind, vets. Keep that in mind, those of you who are currently serving in the military. Think about that for a second. If you get denied, most vets who get denied do not appeal because they don't want to keep going through that process, because they're brokenhearted from the VA. They feel like the VA has sold them out and has abandoned them and not carried their responsibility. Well, you have to understand, the agency that you were serving under was the DOD. in your respective military branch, not the VA. The VA is a separate agency. And you have to take those records, hopefully make copies of everything you have, and then you send those copies to the VA. But you also need to send all your treatment records and medical records from when you started seeing VA, started to be seen at all VA facilities, whether it's the vet center, the clinic, CVOC clinic, or one of their many medical centers. A lot of guys throw away stuff. I tried to keep I kept all my records from when I served in the Air Force, but there are still records that I can't find. There's still treatment records I cannot find. I don't know where that stuff is, but I'm thinking it's probably with my ex. But with the unfortunate thing about her is she's still sending me pictures of when we were together that I forgot we even had. And she sent me a big ass envelope. Every year I get at least one. Look, here's pictures from such and such, because I asked her 6 or 7 years ago, if I have more pictures, make sure you give them to me. Because we had a couple boxes full of nothing but pictures. And I wanted my guy made 2 copies of everything. I said, you need to send me all of my pictures instead of bullshit. But I know I have paperwork from the military that I've misplaced. But I have sent off to the record center to get those papers sent to me, but it takes 3 to 4 months to get that stuff. It does. It takes a long time to get that information. Okay? So, that's just the way it is. So you got to understand something. Most vets who file for claims and they get denied, you're gonna get denied for some stuff. 50 to 60% of these guys don't appeal, and the VA knows that. So what they do is they bank on that. I have some veterans clients who applied for Social Security, SSDI, and every last one of my clients got denied twice, not once, not like the VA. They got denied twice, and the Social Security Administration is the same way. They get rid of a lot of people when they deny them that first time. They get rid of the rest of the people when they deny them the second time. Very few people, veterans and non-veterans, survive to the end with Social Security. As a matter of fact, Social Security, SSDI, and SSI are considered to be harder to get. The threshold is higher than it is for the VA. Now, that may be debatable with a lot of non-veterans and veterans, but from what I heard, it's a son of a bitch to get SSDI. So you have to understand what kind of tenacity you need to have if you're going to start this process. You can't be no bitch and apply for SSDI and SSI through the Social Security Administration and Veterans compensation and pension through the VA. You can't be no bitch, dude, because you might be sitting around for years. Now, let me give you some quick examples of how the VA has improved over the years. I had a relative who's a disabled veteran who informed me about a couple Vietnam vets. One guy he's a Hispanic guy, and the other guy was a white dude. Both of them were Marines. Both of them fought. Both of them did 1 or 2 tours in Vietnam. Both of them have severe PTSD, where they came back and just climbed in that bottle and never climbed out of it. But they did go to the VA when they got back and they applied for benefits. They were denied for everything. PTSD, Agent Orange, all that shit. They got denied for everything. And luckily, they appealed. And what they used to do back then, when you appeal through the VA, it goes to 2 places. It goes to the regional office that serves your city, county, and state, or it goes to the Board of Veterans Appeals, which actually has a sitting federal judge or judges. Now, what the VA will do is they'll try to settle this at the regional office level. And what they'll do is they'll do what's called a video conference appeals hearing, or you can go directly to the regional office yourself. And they'll actually have you in this room, and the board of there'll be some kind of administrator at the regional office level who will conduct this hearing. And basically the person is going to be a VA lawyer. And they're going to conduct the hearing, and you're either going to present additional evidence. And by the way, you can have a DAV representative sitting there with you. And I stand corrected if you can't. From what I've been told, you can. And so the success rate at that level is actually decent. Most of the cases that get to the regional office appeals level usually get approved. If it goes to the Board of Veterans Appeals, now if you get denied at that level, which does happen, then it goes to the Board of Veterans Appeals. Now, they lie and say that it goes straight to the Board of Veterans Appeals. It does not. Because I have a frat brother that works for one of the regional offices. And according to him, he's a manager at a regional office. He said that the way it works, he said they try to settle it at the regional office level first. And if the person does not like the outcome at that level, then it goes to DC, to the Board of Veterans Appeals. And you can either travel there or do a video conference. They will not pay for you to travel to DC. They will not pay for your hotel either. They will not pay for your lodging. So unless you got a couple coins in your pocket, I would not even think about going to DC. Now, if they do reimburse, if you win, I don't know whether they do it or not. That's something you need to check into. The success rate at the Board of Veterans Appeal is very high because they said a lot of those judges feel like now they're able to put the claim with a face. Because even if you do video conferencing, it shows your face. And that is definitely the time to get your Angela Bassett or Denzel Washington on. I have several clients who told me they had to break into their best Denzel impersonation. And I'm not talking about Training Day. Okay? I ain't talking about King Kong ain't got nothing on me. That ain't gonna get it for let me just tell you, that ain't gonna get it for you, player. So when you get to that level, those judges usually say, man, we're just gonna give this guy his money. We ain't gonna hold this dude up. Especially, again, once you humanize the claim. Because you have to understand something. When claim representatives are at the regional office level, they don't know who the fuck you are. All they see is a fucking claims number. They don't know your history. They don't know your issues. They don't know shit. And that's why it's the job of you. It's your job when you do your statement of case, you need to, even if you have to make that damn thing 15 pages, you need to explain all your whole situation. You need to explain everything. I had a client who we tried to help get VA compensation, and this dude, his paperwork wasn't done right because he went through some state VA agency, and them guys didn't do his paperwork right. So obviously we had to redo when we set up when we had to redo his appeal. We had to include all this information. You have to understand something about these claims representatives. They are not medically trained, yet they are the last line of defense for the VA. And I know what you're thinking, Ice, how can these motherfuckers be approving medical and mental health claims and they don't have any kind of medical background? That's why it's your job when you do your original application, your DAV rep, or your, because I wouldn't mess with the American Legion, VFW. Those agencies those representatives don't do a very good job of representing veterans like the Disabled American Veterans Association does. The veteran service officers with the VA, with the DAV, they are the best trained. And they're the only agency that the VA really respects. Don't go to none of them other agencies. Because I get guys get vets sending me emails all the time talking about, hey, Ice, if you think it's okay to go to the American Legion, hell no. Don't go to them dudes, man. They might only have 1 or 2 guys over there and they're not well trained. Not as well as DAV. So I wouldn't even fuck with them. But when you're talking about certain types of illnesses, you have to explain it in a way that the claims representative is going to easily understand it. And you have to, like, let me give you an example. If a person has sleep apnea and you don't address other mitigating factors like weight gain and all this other kind of stuff that may be the factor as to why this person got sleep apnea in the first place, you're going to get denied. So all of that stuff has to be included in in the statement of case or on the original application. It's a certain way that you have to explain about the other mitigating factors. If you don't do that, you are going to get denied for some of these medical and mental health issues. I had a vet that has been incarcerated. I have a vet client who has also been homeless at certain times after he came back from Vietnam. All that stuff has to be included in his claim, because they need to see how this illness or mental condition has affected this person's life. And if you don't include that, then there's a high likelihood that this man or woman is going to be denied service connection. I'm not going to get deep into a lot of this other legal and medical stuff in how to do the paperwork, because I'm going to tell you right now, it's taken me years to learn how to do this. I didn't go through a formal veteran service organization training, which is about 6 to 8 weeks. I didn't go through the training. I've learned the process through talking to lawyers who handle veterans claims and then doing research myself. And I've read hundreds of documents over the years. So I probably know just as much as your DAV rep is going to know. And that's why I try to help vets. I don't charge them a dime. I have had vets send me money because of what I help them do, we have helped them overcome. But that's only kind of like as a peace offering, like, here, brother, you know, I know you said you don't accept money, but here. But we don't charge for that. I'm not going to charge a veteran to serve a veteran. We don't do that. The only thing that I charge my veterans clients that get therapy from me is they pay for the therapy. They don't pay for the VA help. I'm willing to help them all day, every day for that. That's just how we roll. And there's other vets that we have in the mix that help me out. It's not just me. Okay? It's not just me. As you can see, this is a very lengthy legal process. And you have to understand something. This process is legal. Now, it's an emotional situation for the vet and their family and loved ones, but it's a legal process. And that's why a lot of vets get denied, because they don't see it that way. They see it as a very emotional situation. And it is. And you can't take that component out of it. But the VA don't give a shit. All they look at is, how can we get out of paying these billions of dollars in claims? You have to understand something. The VA is paying out over $80 billion a year in claims. And they're going to pay probably another 20 or 30 billion in the next 3 to 5 years because of all the conflicts we got going on simultaneously all over the fucking world. But that ain't our fucking problem. Like I tell people every fucking day. I don't give a damn if the VA run out of money tomorrow. They better have my check in there on the 1st. Through rain, sleet, or snow, the VA better have my money. Not half, not part, but all my goddamn cash. Or else a whole bunch of veterans are going to travel to Washington, D.C. and put our feet dead in their asses. Okay? You're going to have a whole lot of mad veterans if that money ever get fucked with. Somebody had the nerve to send me a message about, you know, this is probably about 3 years ago. I had some ad. I made a video about the VA, and some asshole sent me a message talking about, "Oh, you old lazy vets. y'all get, I'ma laugh one day when y'all wake up and y'all don't get y'all money. And I answered back to this idiot. I said, first of all, idiot, that ain't never gonna happen. And let me tell you why that's never gonna happen. That's never gonna happen because our money is guaranteed through Congress, you idiot. It's part of every congressional budget. So just like DOD gets their money every year, the VA gets their money every year. Unlike some of this other shit that has to be approved damn near every year as far as a bill is concerned. It's not a question of whether or not that money is factored into VA Department of Veterans Affairs business. It's the fact of how much is factored in. But there's already a bare minimum amount of money that's already guaranteed to all veterans. And if they have to take an IOU, they will. Let me get back to this whole situation with Shinseki and this whole debacle that's going down with these guys getting denied benefits. As I stated earlier in this lecture, if you're a sickly motherfucker or you're a very aged individual, they're going to try to hold back on certain medical procedures. Unfortunately, people have lost their lives because of it. And that's unfortunate, man. I've gotten a lot of emails about this VA situation and people asking me to weigh in on it. And I'm telling you, man, let me tell you something. I have dealt with the Phoenix VA. And I'll tell you right now, those people are the biggest assholes I've ever dealt with in my life. Somebody asked me if I would have ever dealt with the Phoenix regional office ever. Would I have ever dealt with them? And I said I purposely did not want to file a claim when I lived in Phoenix. I purposely didn't file a claim. Because I didn't want to deal with the Phoenix VA because there's a list of the most horrible regional offices, and the ones out in California are some of the worst. Phoenix is one of them, and the Houston regional office is one of them, and also the Atlanta regional office is one of them. And a lot of people ask me, I had one veteran ask me, he said, Ice, why is it that it takes so long to get a claim through the VA? First of all, you got to understand something. The people who got legs blown off because of IEDs and landmines, people who received very immediate medical issues or injuries, those people's claims are easily settled because it's very clear what happened to them. The claims that are harder to navigate through the VA claims process are claims for medical issues and mental health disorders that weren't brought to the VA's attention until after the veteran has separated from the military. Those claims are the most difficult to navigate the application process. And because of that, you may have a veteran sitting around for years waiting for their money. Now, getting back to those two Vietnam veterans, they went through the appeals process, and believe it or not, it took Congress, during the Clinton administration, the first Clinton administration, to approve the bill, the Agent Orange bill. And those of you who are not familiar with that bill back in 1991 and 92, basically what that bill did, it made Agent Orange a presumptive medical condition. I'm not going to get into what presumptive means for the VA, because it means something totally different in respect to the VA. Basically what it did is all of those old claims for Agent Orange dating back to the 70s, they had to pay all those guys. So think about it. These guys had to wait 20 years or 20-something years or maybe even 30 years to get their Agent Orange claim. And all the ancillary medical conditions that have been secondary medical issues due to Agent Orange exposure, thanks to Dow Chemical. Anyway, they finally got their money. And when they did, you had people getting $1 million checks in the mail. And these two Vietnam vets, the Hispanic guy got a check for, I think, $500,000. And the white guy got like $800,000 or $900,000. This is tax free, by the way. And so the Hispanic guy was real appreciative that he got the money. But he said, look, I'm in my 60s. But he said he gave a lot of the money to his kids, because he said he beat his kids during the time he was raising his kids, and he took a lot of his anger out on them. And what he ended up doing was, well, actually, a couple of his kids actually went to the military after they moved out of the house. And so he paid to get, mental health services for his kids. He gave his kids, money so they can buy houses and all that kind of stuff. And he just took a little bit of the money and remodeled him and his wife's house. But he said he had been through hell. And he put his kids through hell. But he felt like finally he got some retribution for going to Vietnam. But another thing that's an issue with the VA is what a lot of you have to understand something. Registered nurses, nurse practitioners, and doctors and mental health therapists, they get bonuses. They get bonuses for playing these little games. Did y'all know that? They get bonuses. And what a lot of veterans are saying is, why in the hell is the VA paying out bonuses anyway? That's total bullshit. That's total bullshit. How is it that these people are getting bonuses? Bonuses for what? These doctors in the VA are already making $150,000 to $250,000 a year, and they're getting bonuses on top of that. So there's an incentive for them to deny surgeries and medical treatments. You have to understand something. What a lot of times with the VA, what they do is they do the bare legal minimum they have to do to treat a veteran. And unfortunately, a lot of vets don't know any better. And let me just say this. A lot of the times with veterans, we don't stand up for ourselves. And a lot of veterans get fucked over because they have that sheep mentality. They come up in there, they let them doctors treat them any old kind of way. They let those nurses treat them any kind of way, and they let those mental health people treat them any kind of way. Believe it or not, a lot of these vets allow a lot of mistreatment, and we have to blame ourselves for that. Because I can tell you, with some of the vets some of the medical personnel that I've dealt with at the VA, I've had some of these people just straight up think they could just, do whatever they wanted to do to me. And I was like, wait a minute here. You know what? I'm not boo-boo the fool. You need to do X, Y, Z. And yeah, I got things done because I raised hell. And I continue to raise hell. A lot of times veterans allow shit to happen to them and then they turn around and complain about it. Well, the best thing to do is get up off your dead ass and be proactive. In the last part of this lecture, I'm gonna cover what veterans have to do to survive the appeals process. So what you guys have to do is you have to look at the VA this way. As a multi-billion-dollar agency, if I had to give them a letter grade, if you look at the total Department of Veterans Affairs umbrella and all that is under it, I would rate them at about a C-. And let me tell you why I give them that high of a grade. I give them that high of a grade because as a large multi-billion-dollar two-division agency, they have a lot of moving parts. And for them to operate as well as they do is amazing. So I'm not going to beat up on the VA as much as I should. But they do deserve to be beat on a little bit. Or they deserve a beat down to a certain point. So as a total agency, I would rate them at a C-. Now, you have to understand the main problems to me in the VA system, whether it's the VBA side or the VHA side, the main problem with the VA is the gatekeepers at the bottom level. A lot of times, the problems with the gatekeepers are the individuals that give you hands-on care. The doctors, the nurses. It's those people who are these so-called gatekeepers. Those are the people who need their asses kicked. Okay? Those are the people who need their asses kicked. And those are the people that are not dealt with the way they're trying to shit on Shinseki. Now they're sitting up there saying to Shinseki that he needs to voluntarily walk away. He needs to be terminated by President Obama. Shinseki has been a decent VA secretary. He's also a Purple Heart recipient and he's also a disabled vet himself. So you have to understand, even if they did get rid of Shinseki, it would be more symbolic than it would be effectual. And let me tell you why. Cabinet secretaries are what? Figureheads. They don't micromanage the agencies they preside over. And let me tell you something. I blame President Obama more than I blame Shinseki. And let me tell you why. President Obama got up there on national worldwide television talking about what they were going to do to help serve veterans better. And as we see as a result, there have been some positive changes, very minute changes, I might add. There has been some improvements in the overall VA system. But as I noted within this video, the claims process hasn't been improved all that much since President Obama took office. So if you want me to blame somebody, I'd blame President Obama more than I would Shinseki and the doctor who just stepped down, who was head of the VHA. Now, the reason why this is a fiasco is because this doctor, he was planning on retiring anyway. His paperwork had been put through months before this scandal broke. So for President Obama to get up there and toot his own horn and try to act like he did something is ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous. Because this guy was going to retire after 30 years of service any goddamn way. Now they going to sit up here and act like they were planning on getting rid of him and we're supposed to be happy because of that. You have to understand something. The problems with the VA isn't at the top. The problem with the VA is at the bottom. First of all, they need to hire more claims representatives to push those claims further along. Those claims representatives might have 50 cases they're working on, which is one of the reasons why it takes so long to get a claim through. Now, they have gotten the system down to about 15 months. And from there, they've gotten it down to 13 months. So, as you can see, they've gotten it down from 3 to 5 years down to 13 to 15 months. So as you can see, this is a huge problem. But the reason it's a problem is because they don't have enough claims reps. The problem starts there. They need to hire more claims representatives. And let me tell you something, the VA doesn't want to expend the money to hire more claims representatives. That's one of the problems. Two of the problems is problems with all federal employees all the way across the board with all the agencies. These federal workers have the I I can't get fired itis. You know that condition. The I can't get fired from my federal job itis. They have very powerful unions, and as a result of that, they can't just fire people. So, as you know, these people figure they ain't gonna never get fired. You really have to fuck up to get fired from a federal job. You really do. So, what you guys have to understand is that that process needs to be changed. And they're probably going to need congressional approval to do some of this stuff. They need to hire more claims reps, and they need to push these claims reps to do what they're supposed to do in a shorter amount of time. And they haven't been able to do that. The people who are hurt in the end are the veterans and their families. You have to understand something. Even if the veteran dies and they have an active claim, the surviving family members and or spouse can still receive those benefits. There's a lot of legal shit that's involved, but they can receive benefits. One thing that I want you guys to understand, and this is specifically for the veterans. First of all, hang in there and be patient with your claim. Secondly, some of these claims get denied because the veteran is uncooperative. Let me explain what I mean by that. A lot of times you get veterans who don't send their paperwork in like they're supposed to. If the VA asks you for additional medical records, don't putz around and bullshit around and not send them. A lot of vets are full of shit on that aspect. A lot of vets sit up here and they don't send in paperwork in a timely fashion, and then they get mad when they get denied. They don't go to their appointments like they're supposed to. They don't show up on time. And then they get mad at the VA because the VA is not paying their money. Let me give you an example. And like I said, this is specifically for the veterans. If, for example, you have a PTSD or an open PTSD claim, you're trying to get PTSD. Say you did or you did not get a diagnosis for PTSD while you were serving and after you were serving. Where a lot of veterans fuck up is A, they don't get the diagnosis to begin with, which is where you got to start. You need to have a PTSD diagnosis either through the vet center, which to me, the vet center counts, but let me tell you who you need to get a PTSD diagnosis from. A VA medical doctor, psychiatrist, psychologist, social worker, or licensed professional counselor. That's a VA employee. Or the same people with Department of Defense. If you go to a military installation hospital or clinic, or you use a DOD approved contractor, they have to be, or a DOD therapist or doctor. They will accept a diagnosis from those people. They very recently started accepting diagnoses from private practicing psychiatrists, psychologists, LPCs, and social workers. So if you got Blue Cross Blue Shield and you get a diagnosis from your psychiatrist, they will accept it. But still, let me tell you something. The diagnoses that has the most weight are if you get a PTSD diagnosis from a VA employee that's a psychiatrist, psychologist, and or social worker. Those are the diagnoses that carry the most weight. Although they will DOD, and then secondly, and DOD is actually on the same level. Okay? You have to have those or you do not get your PTSD claim approved. So those of you who are trying to get claims to the VA and you're in the appeals process or you're waiting to get your first approval, you have to be patient. You have to understand you need to be patient, bruh or sis. You got to be patient. Please be patient. The last thing I want to cover is do not hire an attorney to assist you with your VA claim. Let me explain why. If you hire an attorney, they're going to get between 33 and 40% of your money. Why are you going to sit up here and give a total stranger 40% of that fat ass check you getting? Let me explain something to you. It is firsthand knowledge that the VA claims employees dislike attorneys, and they also dislike people who employ the services of a congressman's or a senator's staff. They do not like those people. Okay? They do not like them. Do not hire an attorney. They are not going to get you through the process any faster. As a matter of fact, they don't know any more than the veteran service organizations know. You are better off going to the DAV. Do not hire an attorney. All these attorneys are doing is taking these veterans' money. You do not need a lawyer. All they're going to do is complicate the process, and all they're going to do is feed you a bunch of lies that you need them to help you get your claim settled. You do not need them. As a matter of fact, you're better off doing it by yourself. I can tell you from firsthand knowledge, do not hire an attorney. I'm glad I didn't. I almost did, though. Ladies and gentlemen, those of you who may not be a veteran, if you have a relative or a parent who's a veteran, please understand the hell that these men and women have gone through to get their money. It's not free money. That money has been dipped in blood. The blood of those military and veterans who have passed on or who were killed in action. There's been a great sacrifice by those military service members and those veterans. This is not free money. This is money that we're entitled to. We put our lives on the line to protect the sovereignty and the American people and the sovereignty of the United States. And damn it, we deserve this money. Don't allow don't allow the claims process people or the VA medical people to push you around. Stand up for yourself, do the research, protect yourselves. And by the way, those of you brothers and sisters who you have an active claim and you have a diagnosis, go to your appointments. And when you, especially as it relates to the mental health, when you sit down with your psychiatrist or your psychotherapist, psychologist, whomever, don't go in there telling them you feel great. Because you have to understand something. They're going to write that on your progress note on your medical records. And if you're feeling great almost every time you come in there and you're supposed to have depression or you're supposed to have PTSD, guess what? That's going to affect your claim. So be careful how you discuss your mental state when you go in there to see your counselor or your psychiatrist. You tune in to the Iceman Show. I'm your host, the Iceman. Go by AskTheIceman.com and sign up for Iceman University or sign up for the Iceman Show monthly subscription. Iceman University is $15.99, ladies and gentlemen. If you want help with weight loss or life situations that you're dealing with, or you just want to get some game, you want to get your game right and your mouthpiece tight, check out Iceman University at AskTheIceman.com. Also, go by AskTheIceman.com and contribute money to the Urban Revitalization Project. We can't do this without you, so contribute $5, $10. Stop being cheap. You tuned in to the Iceman Show. I'm your host, the Iceman. Holler at your boy.